Bonds in old school are reaching all-time highs, while the bots in free-to-play swarm, and the money-making methods produce less and less GP. The free-to-play to bond grind was once a dream shared among new players, but is now just a barricade preventing people from seeing the game before it truly shines. I wanted to take it upon myself to create a new account and grind for a bond to see just how long it will truly take, and that's where Free2Pringle comes in. Before I begin playing on this account, I just want to set some rules. I will not be doing any methods involving PKing or the wilderness, I will not be flipping at all on the Grand Exchange, and lastly, I will only use this account to earn GP and no other alts are allowed. With that out of the way, make sure to like and subscribe, and let's just go to the mainland. So we are fresh out of Tutorial Island and ready to go. I went with the classic character look because, how can you not? And I didn't exactly plan for this. I watched a couple older similar videos to this, and I just want to try their methods just to see if they're still viable before I try any of my own in case mine suck. So with our starting items in our bank, the value is 1.5k GP, so we're pretty much almost done with the challenge. You know we had to do it to them. A free 10k from the Stronghold of Security is always welcome, and I'm actually going to head on over to Port Sarim for a potential method I got lined up already, while of course making a pit stop at Django in Draenor to buy a Chronicle and Teleport cards, since the Teleport puts you just outside of Varrock, which is going to be incredibly useful for going to the GE. So our first method is going to be buying blue wizard hats from Betty in Port Sarim, coming in at 1 GP a pop, hopping worlds, and repeating until our inventory is full. The going value for a blue wizard hat is about 450 GP, so each world hop is essentially that amount of GP. The only problem is, this is a lot of world hopping. Okay, so I got 52 hats, which ended up instant selling at 450. They were listed higher, so maybe I could have sold them at a better time, but I only did that for about 10 minutes and ended up with a cash stack of 31k. I went ahead and used this GP to buy maple longbows to test out another method in Rimington, where you sell bows to the archery shop and hop worlds for straight profit each time. Each bow I bought was about 280 GP, and every time I would sell them, he'd pay about 450 or less depending on how many the stock was. The idea is you just sell 5 or 10 and then hop depending on the stock. If it's really competitive, you don't want to be doing this since other people can mess up how much money you make. Alright, so that only took a couple of minutes since I only had 110, but the cash stack is up to 43k now with a full inventory of onions to boot. I decided to take my talents to Al Kharid. I started buying out a crafting supply store and hopping. I was targeting the molds and thread on each world since it looked like it had some good margins. Alright, so I got the sell offer in for the molds. They aren't instant selling, which isn't the end of the world, and this is all going to be about patience and tight margins, so I decided to buy close to 400 onions and turn them into yellow dyes in Draenor. This is another older method that I saw and I want to see if it still works. It's also listed as one of the highest methods on the wiki, depending on the price of the yellow dyes when they sell. The only complaint I have about this one is it's very click intensive, and also I keep running out of energy. All the yellow dyes have been made with no instant sell. The molds are still going slowly as well, so I'm just going to kill some time by getting more wizard hats, but instead of all blue, a mix of black as well. I sold 107 blue wizard hats for the same price of 450, but in an absolute shocker, the black wizard hats, contrary to their guide price, are going for 1k each. In one swoop, I just turned my bank value into almost 300k GP, so in a mad dash, I ran back to Betty in order to strike while the iron is hot, and I wanted to fill up on as many hats as I could since it was such a good price. Still going with a mix of black and blue just to be safe, and I'm banking all of them on the Intrana deposit box and then running back since it's just a short distance away. About 30 minutes later and close to the same amount of hats, the blue ones instant sold but the black ones stopped selling after the first 83, so I'm just going to wait until those sell by killing time making pie shells. This is a great method involving taking 14 pie dishes from the GE and 14 pastry doughs and then combining them, selling the end product of pie dishes. The only problem with this method is the miserable buy limit of 500 dishes every 4 hours or something like that, so I tried to do this every 4 hours for the most amount of GP. Taking our half a mil cash stack, I put in a buy offer for 2k onions to buy over time and a stack of 1k bows this time, and I'm heading back to Rimington for the same method as earlier. So it took a little longer because I had to wait for the stock to go down since other people were doing this method as well, but our cash stack went from 279k to 328k after 1k longbows were sold. Betty was calling my name, and since she's about 5 feet away from Rimington, I stopped by to load up on some more wizard hats, which I sold after getting 53 of both. The cash stack is up to 435k, and since black hats are still selling for 1k, I doubled back and sold another load, which was almost my highest at this point. Unfortunately, this time my offers didn't instant sell, but since my buy offer for onions finally went through, I bought some energy potions and decided to turn all of the onions into yellow dye. It's the next day, and I have an offer in to sell those 917 dyes. Our bank value is nearing 1 million GP at 720k, so I'm just going to sell some more bows, make some more pie shells, and just wait for these dyes to sell. The dyes have almost finished selling, and our bank value is clocking in at 1 million on the dot, meaning that we're essentially 10% of the way to a bond, and this took a whopping 7 hours and 37 minutes, meaning if we don't find any other better method, we're in for a long one. After selling 500 long and short bows this time in Remington, our cash stack is now at 868k. It's a new day and I love logging in to hearing the GE coin sound. That means all of our offers sold overnight, being our yellow dye and blue wizard hats, with the black wizard hat load I did most recently, instant selling last night. So our cash stack is up to 1.5 million now. I'm just going to do some pie dishes and look at other methods to do. So the next method that I'm eyeing is crafting jewelry in Edgeville. This is a method I've covered in my own free-to-play money making guides, as it's sort of AFK and can bring in close to 200k GP an hour. So I'm going to train with leather until I get around 27-ish crafting. 27 crafting obtained in a very short time, but I feel like doing more yellow dyes, so I bought 3k more onions and got to it. I put in my dyes to be sold for 700 each. They're fluctuating between around 400 and 1k randomly, so I'm hoping they go for that higher price, but in the meantime, I'm just going to do some pie shells. I ended up returning to El Corinne and buying more jewelry molds. Ring molds were going for the highest on the GE, so I prioritized those. Unfortunately though, they weren't selling for a decent price, so I'm just going to go ahead and leave all my offers in and log out. Next day, and our molds have sold now. Only half of the yellow dye is sold though, so I'm going to try reducing that price. We're almost at 2 million GP total, so I'm going to try a couple new methods out to see if they're worth doing. So buying team capes from Purdue and Edgeville were listed at about 200 GP profit each, and you can buy them very easily in bulk, so I tested out buying 539 Cape 46s. Sadly though, they weren't selling for a good price. Now, there is a few different capes that you can buy from Purdue, so I'm sure you can play around with each one to see what's best to sell, but I'm just going to move on from this one. Testing a new method, and that's buying packs of jugs in Draenor. On the GE, jugs are about 3 GP per, meaning that if we sat here for a full hour optimally, we should end up with about 2 or 300k GP of profit, but let's see if that's actually true. So I got 201k jugs total. It would have been more, but I hit the world hopping limit. Just from yellow dye and team cape selling here, the cash stack is at 1857k or 1.8 mil, and selling the jugs brings it up to 2.4. The jugs were very easy to do in my opinion, but don't be fooled, it wasn't 600k a profit since you actually have to pay for the jug packs. It was more like 300k. Well, I'm using that crafting level now and went ahead and bought 1k gold bars in sapphire. I'm going to use 13 of each along with an amulet mold at the Edgeville furnace with my crafting level, to see if this is any good. All of the amulets have been made. It wasn't too bad while watching videos or just playing on my main, and it's definitely the most AFK activity so far. I'm going to put in a sell order for these and log out, and hopefully we get a nice little surprise when we log back in. Well, it's a beautiful day outside, but unfortunately the yellow dyes aren't fully selling, even for 420 GP, but adding this 500k to my bank gives me a cash stack of 2.7 mil, with a playtime of 18.5 hours. 255k more jugs were bought from Draenor, making our total bank value 3.2 mil, with a total playtime of 21 hours. I'm just going to start doing all the methods I've been doing now, like pie shells, jugs, and selling bows in Remington, as they've been proving pretty good. So I spent a couple hours and got 300k jugs. I also have a couple buy orders in for more onions to make yellow dyes, and then pie shell supplies, so I'm just going to log out and hopefully these all go through. So my onions are buying very slowly, and I keep changing the offer price, but I'm just going to take what I have now and go make dyes. My onions ended up all buying while I was making the dye, so I ended up just staying and making the entire stack. So I have 1 mil worth of items in the GE, and with my bank value, we're almost at 5 million GP, which is about half a bond. Well, the dyes still aren't fully selling, so I'm going to do the most logical thing and go make more. I'm trying to sell all my dies for a whopping 600 GP each, but they're going very slowly. I fear this method won't be viable too much longer, which is frightening considering it's the best one so far, and it's still only about 300k an hour. So I was looking at the wiki for these methods, and it was saying red berries and red dyes are actually better than yellow dyes right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and try it out. That turned out to be a big fat load of barnacles, and I just wasted my time. The dyes still aren't selling, so I bought 1k of each bow again to sell in Remington. If there's nobody else competing with me, it's definitely a solid method. At this point, I had struck a secret gold mine. Frustrated with not being able to sell all of my bows, I walked to Draenor in an attempt to find my own money-making method. While I was on the way there, I had checked out the gold exchange in Port Sarim, but this is one of the most botted methods, as it's great profit to buy jewelry off the GE and then sell it here, just like the bows. I was using a GE website to look at prices of random free-to-play items, and I noticed discs of returnings from Django were actually selling for 15k on the GE. I figured this item would be super cheap since it's just a fun item, but it was actually 21k from Django directly, meaning that I could secure a solid minus 6k each time I bought one. This is what led me though directly to discovering the best method of this entire video, which was buying toy horsies. Now I'm not sure why people are buying these, whether it be noobs, bots, collectors, PKers, or what have you, but regardless, I'm gonna take advantage. One toy horsey from Django ran me 150 coins, and the GE price was listing as 1k GP. Obviously this can be incorrect, and for these kinds of items it almost always is, but I wanted to see if they would really sell on the GE for a good price. In the big moment of truth, I had bought 500 black horsies and a couple of other colors. Since they're in stock at 5 a piece and they're so cheap, it's easy to just hop and buy 5 at a time of the black horses, but I was surprised to see that they didn't sell for 1k, but they still were selling for 500 GP each, and because of how easy it was to get, I found a new method. This is only going to be viable if they stay at this price, and luckily it wasn't just black horses, it was all of the horses selling for around 500 GP or a little less. I did a full load of horsies, getting around 500 to 700 of each color, but I'm sure as you could have guessed, they weren't really selling. I had 800 black horsies and I could barely sell them for 320 GP, and while this still is a great profit, considering how easy it is to obtain them, it's definitely disappointing to not see a huge sale like I thought I was gonna get selling that many for 1000 GP at a time per se, though seeing hundreds of thousands of GP coming in from all of the horsies in the GE history was very satisfying. I decided I was just gonna wait and see if I can get all of them to sell and log out for now. I successfully got all of the horsies to sell, and actually as you can see I was able to sell about 200 black horsies for over 1200 per one. As soon as I saw this, I took my near 6 million cash stack out and rushed over to Django. I'm still doing my pie shells every GE reset, and I sold 1k bows last night, but this is going to be the primary maker as long as it's viable. I decided to only go black horsies this time, 1k actually, and some sold for 700 GP, but I reduced it down to 600 and logged out. The total bank value has officially passed 6 mil though. Well, they're selling pretty slow still, so I guess I'm just gonna buy more bows and just wait. Alright, they're almost finally done selling, so while they just finish, I'm gonna do some more pie shells. Another load of horses bought. I'm noticing that they all sell in batches of around the same amounts, so like you can do all colors for 500 GP up to a certain amount, and then it stops buying for a while, like after 200 or 300, so that definitely makes me think it's either being botted or maybe a collector with buy offers in. But anyway, we officially have a liquid cash stack of 7 million GP, and the horses are going so good that I'm just gonna keep abusing them. Another day, another steaming load of horses. Most of them sold right away, but the black ones aren't going for a premium anymore, so gonna wait it out with some bows. The offers always sell like half at a time when I first start selling them for the day, but it's such an enjoyable method and will soon be at 8 mil. I just finished selling some pie shells I made, and most of the horses are done selling. The cash stack alone is at 8.7 mil, so we're almost free. So I bought another load of 1k of each bow, sold them, and then bought 2k onions to see if yellow dyes have been revived yet. The dyes are selling slowly, but they have put us above 9 million GP, so we are finally in the last stretch. Another horse load selling. The yellow dyes aren't really selling, even for a really low price, so I'm hoping those bounce back, but 9.4 mil GP is the stack. Nearing 10 million GP, I did some bows and pie shells and ended up selling the rest of my horses and dies for a way lower price just so I could push myself past that goal. So with that being said, we have officially hit a green 10 million GP cash stack in free-to-play old school RuneScape. And this only took 2 days and 1 hour. I'm logging out tonight with the first actual chance of a buy offer going through for a bond at 10 mil. Maybe when I wake up the challenge will be done, but we don't really have much time to go anyway. Yeah, well, I figured I wouldn't buy, but it's a new day, and with less than a million GP to go, I decided to just run the classics the rest of the way. You can tell I was desperate to be getting done, as I did toy horsies and was only buying a couple hundred at a time, just because I didn't want to waste any more time than I had to. I logged out and tried another buy offer of 10.2 mil for the bond. Sadly, it didn't work. I spent a couple hours doing pies and bows, and here we are with 10.9 mil, and most of my stuff has sold now. I'm hoping this goes through, but if not, I can easily get a couple hundred more K to guarantee it, but I'm logging out for now. Oh, I think that sound is the buy offer, and there it is. I'm a brand new free-to-play account, and I have earned my own bond for 10.9 million GP. The official ending time for how long this took is 2 days and 4 hours. Yeah, 2 days and 4 hours. If you're deficient, that's 52 hours of my life I just spent obtaining this bond, and keep in mind I could have flipped burgers for about an hour and earned enough for a bond at McDonald's, maybe even 2 bonds. But anyway, this was a fun challenge. I was thinking of making a video using this bond and seeing how easy it is to sustain a new members account. So let me know if you want that, but like and subscribe, join my Discord and clan in the description, and see you next time.